My name is Aleya, and a lot of people have been asking me for my backstory of how is it that I do what I do, high levels of energetic sensitivity. I'm an empath, and I'm just going to give you my backstory. So, when I was a child, incredibly sensitive, could feel spirits, ghosts, totally freaked me out. And my parents were adventurers, and they actually took us sailing when I was 12. And we sailed, me, my brother, my mom, and my father sailed on a 40-foot boat. And we went from Chicago out the Hudson, or up the Erie Canal, out the Hudson, up to Nova Scotia, down to Connecticut, and then down to the Bermuda, Bahamas, and then sailed from the Bahamas over to the Azores, which are in the middle of the ocean, and then over to Gibraltar. So at the age of 12, my brother was 11, we did the transatlantic passing. And when I was sitting in the middle of the ocean with no one, nothing, lots of books, my mother, father, brother, I kept asking, what's my purpose in life? And I kept hearing, just witness and observe, absorb the information of the world and how all of these different people live. And so over the course of 15 months, I got to travel the world with my family, go through the Med, go to Europe, go to Africa, and watched and saw how so many different people live. And I think it was a huge game changer because I realized that we don't live in a tiny little box. And it really served me too when technology came online, that I don't get addicted to the phone because there's so many other lenses that I've developed over the years in my training. So at the age of 12, did this huge transatlantic passage, 15 months traveling, and then came back, lived in Chicago, didn't fit in anymore after that year and a half of travel. So I ended up going to boarding school at Proctor Academy in Andover, New Hampshire. And they had lots of travel in that school, which was great because, again, exposure to the new, to the different, to different perspectives. And then after boarding school, I went on to Lewis and Clark College in Portland, Oregon, and I studied poetry, photography, English. I was an English major and didn't really know what I was going to do with my life. And at one point in time, I was visiting with a friend and they lived right next to a massage school. And I kept driving by the massage school and people would come to me and I would kind of intuit and massage them, but I didn't have any idea what I was doing. And so I ended up checking out the massage school and enrolling in the massage school while I was going to Lewis and Clark, and got my massage degree my junior year in college. And then my senior year in college, I started practicing massage and I started trading with an acupuncturist. And she gave me an acupuncture session and I was like hooked day one, and started exploring acupuncture, and then also explored Reiki and became a Reiki master, and went on and got my master's in Oriental Medicine in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And then I moved to Telluride, Colorado, where I opened up an alternative healing clinic with 15 or 16 different healers and was practicing acupuncture, doing a little bit of massage, a little craniosacral, a little bit of Reiki. And then in 2001, after living in Telluride for a few years, I was lying on a sound table. I went to a practitioner who did sound healing, and it was a water table filled with speakers, which I've actually built for myself as well now. And on the sound table, receiving this session, my consciousness shifted in 30 seconds or less. It was like this flash, and I had total awareness of other dimensions, previous incarnations, perceiving other dimensions and guides and beings, and being able to empathically feel what other people were feeling, why they were feeling it, what they were really after. And that enlightenment experience in 2001, it continued. It didn't go away. And so a lot of the times people have enlightenment experiences, but they lose it. And so for me, when I had that enlightenment experience, the sensitivity just kept increasing. Now, fortunately, I was able to perceive my guides who were like, you're not crazy, do this. And they'd start walking me through actually energetic processes that I now share in the daily cups and the tall cups. And so it took me several years, 5, 6 years, to integrate and stabilize that enlightenment experience, and then craft concepts that help use the energetic fields to shift the consciousness to deal with high levels of sensitivity. So I was in Telluride at the time, running an alternative clinic, and then I started having dreams of a particular man. And in those dreams, I was shown that he lived in California. So after about a year and a half of dreaming about him, I would do sessions in Telluride, see clients 10 days straight, and then jump in my car and drive for 3 weeks looking for this person I was dreaming about. And it took me about a year and a half to find him, and in the physical dimension. And then he and I started a relationship, and I was living in Santa Barbara at the time, also living in Telluride, and then had also opened up a practice in Fresno, California. So 3 offices and essentially commuting. And so I commuted for 14 years, and life has continued to unfold. And about a year before the pandemic, I kept hearing retreat, retreat, retreat. And I was like, what? Go on a 3-day retreat? No, just retreat. And so I started taking those tips and guides from the guides to begin retreating. And so I let go of my office in Santa Barbara in 2017 and moved my practice to virtual, started doing more coaching and working with people all over the world, and really amping up the support in the daily cups because I could feel something big coming. And that pandemic was really intense for a lot of people. And I think that actually the world hasn't really quite recovered. There's still a shock and a paralysis that's happening, and a state of disconnection too, which is strange because when we retreat, we actually want to think about coming more deep into the line. And so over the last few years, I've been challenging myself, how can I create more content that helps people go deeper, move into a more connected state with all that I know, everything I've experienced, all that I feel. And so now I'm in the Sierra Nevada foothills, living on our property and doing daily cups, tall cups, energetic coaching sessions, and working on a few new books that have more tools that can empower. My husband and I are now doing a free webinar series called The Path of the Power Couple. And it's basically sharing all of the concepts and tools that we use in our relationship to create a stressless, love-filled life. Because I know that a lot of relationships out there can be very filled with a lot of stress and tension and anxiety. And when you get more sensitive, you can't really endure the anxiety anymore. And so it forces one to find tools that do work to move out of the anxiety and back into a state of connection and calm. So that is my backstory of how I do or how I came to do what I do, a little bit of my own personal history. And if you want to dive deeper and you haven't read my book, 7 Cups of Consciousness, that might be something to start with, and or get a free month of the Cups of Consciousness that are the daily cups, the tall cups. If you want deeper support, you can do a coaching session or book a one-on-one session with me.